Desimoni. I'm a researcher at INVALSI, where I coordinate the psychometrics teams. The present work has been carried out with my colleagues from the psychometric teams, Rosalba, Ceravolo and Cristina, Lasorsa, and with Alessia, Mattei, who is a senior researcher at INVALSI and the head of the National Assessment Program. Okay. I'm very glad to share with you our results, our preliminary results about the longitudinal predictors of student achievements in mathematics at the end of upper secondary school in Italy. For us, it's very important to focus on the end of upper secondary school because this is a transition point in student trajectories towards the adulthood, towards the higher level of education or the labor market. And we know from the literature that the studies that have been focused on the upper secondary school during the pandemic period are very few with respect to other grades. For instance, there are most studies has been carried out on pupils of primary schools or lower secondary schools, with except for the intervention for Alessia. Okay, we work on the same database. Okay. So in this present work, we will focus on the longitudinal predictors at different levels. So we focus on predictors student level, class levels, school levels, at the macro levels with respect to student achievement in mathematics and the end of upper secondary school. Here we have a global picture of the COVID pandemic in Italy. My colleagues already presented the situation, so I will go very fast on this part. However, you can see from the UNESCO map of disclosure that in Italy we started with a nationwide shutdown from March 2020 till the end of the school year, and then the school opened again in September 2020. However, the school year was characterized by discontinuity with local school closure. For instance, if we give a look to the map on the left, okay, we can see that there are different areas. These are different regions. The different color represents the duration of the school closure from September 2020 to February 2021. These data are based on the Bank of Italy note, which is based on the decree of the President of the Council of Ministers of Italy, Coorte. Okay? It was as a tomb, it was the school from that. Okay, by the way, we can see that there are differences across the regions. For instance, we can see that Campania was closed for a long time, much more the other regions. Okay, so here we show you an overview of the differences between 2021 and 2029. These are based on our data, the INVALSI data. We know that we have comparable results across courses. So we can directly compare results for reading, mathematics, and English accepted skills across the different years. So we can compare, for instance, the results obtained by students in mathematics in 2021 and 2022 with results obtained by students in 2019. Stop, because we didn't administer tests at the end of upper secondary school in 2028. Okay, we can do the same thing also for instance, for grade 8. Until it is important to know that there is an important changement in the INVALSI assessment because the INVALSI moved to computer-based assessment and banking only from 2018. So the comparing data for the previous years is a little bit. It's an issue of concern, not so easy. So, what about this data? We can see that there is a large difference between 2021 and 2019 in terms of standard deviation unit in mathematics and in Italian language in comprehension at the end of upper secondary school. These differences are statistically significant, also taking into account the linking error, that is the uncertainty across the link, across the different courses. Okay? From 2019, INVALSI started to enrich the reports, also adding a meaning to the score. We not only give the score, so we say your mean is above the average, below the average, but we also had a meaning that is by linking the score with describing proficiency levels. I look at Stefania, who know very well what I'm speaking about. So we start with the methodology developed by Turner. We developed the proficiency scale. The proficiency scale describes the extent to which a student know and possess the skill in a given area. For instance, in mathematics, we can describe basing on the descriptors associated with each item what students typically know and can do. Okay? An important thing, the most important thing, is that we can see this graph is from Tableau. Okay, so we can see that in 2021 there are a larger percentage of students who among the lowest level. Okay, these are the lowest level. Okay, no, there is not a little and the balloon. The light blue are the lowest level here. Okay. Okay. Our contribution here is to explore the job distribution of student mathematics level on the grade 10 proficiency scale and the grade 13 proficiency scale. Then we move towards investigating the predictors of student progresses in mathematics during the pandemic through a multi-level approach. Okay? So we follow the cohort of students sitting in INVALSI national testing in 2021, the same one of this year, okay? And we reconstructed the retrospective data by adding the data when the students attended grade 10, so before the pandemic started. Okay? Here we don't use a control cohort. We will see together another contribution tomorrow with control cohort. However, here we prefer to stay only on this cohort. Okay? For the two different aims, we use different data. So the first aim, we use the population data. We have the database from grade 10 plus grade 13 plus the INVALSI questionnaire. Okay? And then we move towards a multi-level approach. We selected a random sample of schools from the INVALSI database. Okay? Only for modeling. Here we can see the conditional distribution of grade 10 proficiency scales within the grade 14 proficiency levels in the pandemic cohort. For instance, we can see that here we have the low performers, okay? And we can see that the two scores are correlated, obviously. However, we can see that within the low performer grade 15, we have also students. We have intermediate to high levels, grade 10. Okay? In order to have an overview of this situation, we cluster the data in different subgroups. Okay? We have 4 subgroups. For instance, we can see that we have the low group that are composed by students obtaining low proficiency in both grades. Low proficiency level 1 or 2 above grades. We have then others, for instance, these other groups is composed by students who obtain an intermediate to high level at grade 10, so before pandemic started, and then they move towards the lowest levels. These are some very important groups, okay, because we don't have the control cohort, so we cannot say that it changes something before pandemic and now, but we can see that there are some students that move from intermediate to high level at grade 10, then to lowest level now. And if we give a look to the situation for the low performers, we can see that 1 of 3 students who compose the low performance groups come from intermediate to high level at grade 10. We report the descriptions, the synthetic descriptions of the low proficiency levels. What it means to be low proficient in the INVALSI scale at grade 13. It means to use, sorry, I read it because I cannot remember it, to use only basic skills and procedures mainly acquired in lower secondary school and partly at the end of the first 2 years of upper secondary school in the lowest level, or at maximum, knowing the basic mathematical concept as set forth in the national standards and guidelines for mathematics in the first 2 years of upper secondary school. And now we are at the end of upper secondary school. Okay? This is the distribution of the four subgroups by school tracks. Next, we move to a multi-level approach. Okay? We're trying to explore the relative contribution of different variables at different level to predict student achievement at the end of 4. Because it's important to notice that along with low performers, we have also resilient students. We have students who obtained intermediate level at grade 10, and now after pandemic they still are in intermediate level. Okay? Okay, so at the lowest level we have student. Okay, we consider the grade 10 mathematics ability estimate from the grade 10 item bank. Okay, we consider some socio-demographic characteristics, including the student socioeconomic and cultural background from the INVALSI index, the student school career, if a student repeat one or more grade in the past. Okay, and two variables that are very important for us, okay, that are interest in mathematics and student educational aspiration. Because our hypothesis is that these are two protective factors when facing a challenging period as the pandemic period, okay? At level 2 we have the classes and we have the compositional variables composed by the level 1 variables. As for level 3 we have school tracks plus or the compositional variable at school level based on the students' characteristics. For instance, the proportion of students aspiring to achieve an higher attainment level than upper secondary school diploma. Okay. And we also added some variable at region levels. Okay. So I am not a psychologist, so I don't know if these are variables. However, we think it was very interesting to introduce the days of closure in the second year in 2020-2021. Okay, because when the students were in grade 12, they all experienced the same lockdown because it's a nationwide shutdown, school shutdown. However, the situation changed in the subsequent year, based on the map we see here. Sorry, I go very fast. I'm looking for the map. Okay, can we use this value? Okay. We also use the gross domestic product per capita as a control variable, the material wellness of the regions. Okay. And then another very important variable for us is the percentage of young people neither in employment nor in education and training. We took this other variable for the Italian National Institute of Statistics. Okay? Okay. Playing with model-level model, we try to answer some questions. The first one is how mathematics ability estimate at the end of upper secondary school varies between student, within class, between school, between regions, and across regions. Okay? We can see that 11% of the variation mathematics scores at the end of upper secondary school lies between regions. It's not a small part of the variability. Okay? 26% lies between regions, between schools. Okay? 19% lies between classes between school, and 44% between students. We know that in an ideal world, whole variability should be between students within class. But we know on the one hand it is attracted, students are attracted in different school types, so this is why we have this situation, but it is also important to note that there is difference in school composition that we need to take into account. However, this is the situation. And we also perform the likelihood ratio test in order to see if we can create only a 3-level model. It was more simple for us. It used to be for sincere, but we need to move towards four level models. Okay. So in this caterpillar plot, we can see the distribution of the residual at level 4 regions, level 4, level 3 schools, level 2 classes. We didn't plot the students because okay. So we can see here that the range of values of the regional residual from the grand mean, the overall mean, is from a reduction of the mathematics ability estimate of 23 points, okay, to 18 points, okay. So this is the variability across regions, okay. What if I parcel out the role of the baseline, okay, pre-pandemic baseline? Okay, there is a large reduction in the variability in mathematics score, especially for region level. And we also observe, because we have the name of this region, obviously, that ranking change, okay? So we know on the one hand that a large part of the variability that we observed during the pandemics is linked to the pre-pandemic level. There are huge differences, okay, across the Italian territories, across regions, okay. However, the regions and the school and the classes have different progresses across these 2 years, if we parcel out the rule of the baseline level. Okay, so how do student characteristics affect student progresses during COVID-19 pandemic? Progresses in terms of value added. So we parcel out the role of the pre-pandemic level. So we can see how educational aspiration and interest in mathematics play a protective role, okay? This variable is associated with better performance at the end of upper secondary school, okay? Whereas there are risk factors, be an immigrant or be a female, unfortunately, okay? Even being a student who repeated one or more grades, who already struggled with the school career. As for the socioeconomic and cultural background, it doesn't seem to play a major role. I agree with Lucia. Okay. So this is the direct effect of level 2 and level 3 courses on the 13 mathematics. These are the direct between effect and the effect of students' characteristics. It means that these are the differences between students between the same class, the difference between class within the same school, and the difference between the school. What we can see here, for instance, is that within the same classes, being an higher achievement at grade 10 is associated with better performance at the end of upper secondary school. This same pattern we observe between classes within the same schools and between schools. Okay. As for the socio-demographic characteristic, we can see that, for instance, being a female is associated with worse performance within the same classes, and the proportion of female of the class or the school are associated with worse performance. This is a major concern. Okay? As for the socioeconomic background, we can see that after we parcel out the rule of the baseline, it doesn't exert a direct effect, neither within the classroom, neither between the classroom or between the schools. And then there are two important effects. One, for instance, interest in mathematics. Interest in mathematics play a role within the classes, okay? And also between classes. So classes within the same school with a higher average interest in mathematics perform better even when we take into account the other variables at the classes level. Okay? As for education aspiration, we can see that it exerts its role only at the individual level within classes. These are the direct between and within effect. If we move towards contextual effect by playing with the centering of the variable, we can see here that most of the effects are at the student level, okay? Whereas the contextual effects are not so large, even if there are some unexpected results, such as the results about the proportion of first-generation immigrant. Okay, but another important result is that even when we take into account the significant role played by the duration of the school closure, Okay, we have a significant effect of the percentage of the need in the region. I know that it means several things because the percentage of need is correlated to a number of other variables. Okay. So what we can say, our final remark on the following: the overall differences between pre-pandemic and pandemic course in Italy suggest a pandemic achievement gap in mathematics in the upper secondary school. Also, literature already exists in studies suggest this point. We have looking at the described efficiency level, it means that we are a higher number of students resulting in low performance. So students who are likely to use basic skill and procedure might acquire in lower secondary school and part at the end of the first 2 years of upper secondary school, or at maximum knowing the basic mathematical concepts set for the national standard guidelines in the first 2 years of upper secondary school. Considering the pre-pandemic starting point in a longitudinal perspective, it emerged that although most of the grade 13 low performers were already struggling with mathematics, okay, low group, about 1 in 3 moved from intermediate to high to lowest level. This is a very important point. More encouraging results are from students who maintain an intermediate to high level across the two grades, the 2 school grades. And it is important to highlight a future perspective. We absolutely need the vertical scale in order to monitor progresses of students across upper secondary school and ideally also across the entire trajectories. From our multi-level model analysis, we would like to highlight that socioeconomic and cultural background seems to play a minor role, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a role. It probably play an indirect role through the baseline or a cumulative role through the years. And another important point is that interest in mathematics, educational goals that students set for themselves act a key role in predicting student relative progresses in mathematics. So they are protective factors. So this variable are eligible target variables for intervention programs. Okay? Even because it's not so easy to improve the socioeconomic and cultural background. So it is very important to find out variables that are eligible for targeted prevention and intervention program. Okay. Another important point is that regions showing a higher disengagement of young people from the process of entering adult life, the labor market, and the possibility of assessing it through educational training, okay, the NEET, are more likely to report lower progresses in mathematics during pandemic, even when the region's population duration is accounted for. Thank you for your attention.